Since we're talking about Ken Paxton, is he, he's making all these endorsements, making a lot of political moves. He's out for revenge on a lot of this stuff. Do you think that what are his future plans here in Texas? Do you think he stays the attorney general and then just sort of, retires, sets off into the sunset or whatever? Or is he going for a higher office? Do you think there's potential that he might compete for the governorship against Greg Abbott or whoever it may be in the next cycle?
I don't think he's going to be riding off into the sunset after being AG. I think he's clearly interested in higher office. What higher office, though, that is, I think is remains to be seen. He's made the most noise publicly about potentially running for U.S. Senate in 2026 when John Cornyn is up for re-election. He hates Cornyn, has made that very clear publicly. Whether that seat's going to, whether Cornyn's going to run for re-election, and that would be a primary challenge by Paxton. We don't know that yet. But it's also true that we currently have a log jam in non-federal statewide office in Texas, right? So, the governor could run again, the lieutenant governor could run again, so but they could run again. So we'll see if that log jam breaks in 2026. And that could create new opportunities. For example, if Abbott doesn't run again, then I would imagine running for governor is very appealing to Paxton. So we'll see, but he's clearly interested, I think, in higher office. But given the dynamics in Texas right now, it's a little unclear what those higher offices could be that he could run for.
Yeah. What is it? So, if he has political aspirations to move upward, right? I would think that the governorship, that's an upward move from attorney general, but would lieutenant governor be an upward move? U.S. senator seems like an upward move. I'm just trying to think about what, if he aspires to be more, what are his options? Is it basically just U.S. senator and governor?
I think at this point that, he would probably consider, governor, clearly an upward move, U.S. Senate, clearly an upward move. Lieutenant governor, I think most people would consider AG to lieutenant governor an upward move. But, if that slot is open, you already have a number of Republican state senators who are probably interested in it. And so Paxton, that could be a crowded race. I don't know if Paxton would necessarily be interested in running for lieutenant governor if it's open. And then another thing I should raise is if Trump is, back in the White House, he could obviously appoint Paxton to a cabinet position. He could appoint him to be the U.S. Attorney General. So I think Paxton has a lot of, potential avenues here, that have him ascending to a higher office or holding some job that's not a state attorney general as soon as, a year and a half from now.
So he's a real rising star in Texas politics, huh?
For the time being, but in Texas politics and in politics, you see how people, one day you're up, one day you're down. After the Paxton trial, Defend Texas Liberty looked like one of the most politically relevant players in a long time in Texas. And then we had this reporting on them hosting Nick Fuentes, the notorious white supremacist. And all of a sudden, Defend Texas Liberty's political stock, plummeted and everyone was piling on them. So, we've already seen, that's just to say, we've already seen this year how in Texas politics, one day you're at the top of the, you're at the top of the world, one day you're quickly falling. So, there's a lot more game to play, it feels like.
So I guess if Paxton runs for governor, Senate, gets appointed to something, do we assume that Tony Busby is going to run for attorney general? Is that the next?
Well, I think he's got a runoff in his city council race.
Right.
So he's got to get through that. But I think he is. I'll just say he's clearly seems to love politics. I don't know, given how successful he's been, why you'd run for Houston City Council other than you are really interested in getting into politics. And so I will not be surprised if he's talked about for other offices in the future, honestly.
I'm curious about, because on this note, on the Paxton thing, if I'm not mistaken, in that Trib Fest interview you did with Cruz, you kind of pushed him a little bit to see if he would support Paxton if he ran against Cornyn, because him and Cornyn have endorsed each other in the past, but he wouldn't give an answer, right? Or did I not see some extended conversation part of that?
Yeah, Cruz basically said, he would not give an answer. Basically said it's too early, too hypothetical to go after that. or to address that potential scenario. But the reason I did press him on that is because Cruz and Cornyn obviously have a bit of a tense history at times. Cruz memorably would not endorse Cornyn for re-election when Cornyn was facing primary challengers in, I believe it was 2014, really testing my memory here. But then when Cruz was running for re-election in 2018, he kind of buried that hatchet with Cornyn, and they appeared on stage together at the Texas Tribune Festival. I think it was in the fall of 2017, and Cornyn endorsed Cruz for re-election, and made sure that it was clear that they were a united front going into that battle against Beto O'Rourke. And now we're looking at the potential again of Cornyn having primary challengers, and Cruz won't say whether he's going to be backing Cornyn effectively. And so it seems like another piece of track in that political roller coaster the two of them have been on when it comes to supporting one another at election time.
Kind of seems like Ted Cruz is real happy to bury hatchets,
when it helps him.